Hey everyone, and welcome back! I'm Alvin of Alvin Inc., and my island is wrecked. I had an idea in mind. I wanted to design a split fairy core themed island. Half for the good fairies, and half for the nefarious fairies. But I made a lot of mistakes. I rushed some builds, and I'm just not all that pleased with how my islands turned out. So, I'm going to share with you what some of my mistakes were and the lessons I learned from making them. Without any further ado, let's verbally decimate my island and go over some fun tips for your best island yet. Let's go. So, my first and probably most significant mistake was not properly planning out my island before I started designing and building on it. Which means, the first lesson I have for you is to map out and plan your island. You can do this by drawing little doodles and making sketches, or there are a few island design apps and websites that you can use to build your island before you build your island. One in particular that I recently learned about from Apricari's amazing Plan My Island With Me video, which I'll link to in the description because it's brilliant and I just adore her content so much. It's called Island Planner, and it's by Bobacupcake, which is the cutest name. And again, I'll link to that in the description. It's a free new software, so there may still be some bugs the developers are working out, but I've really been enjoying it myself, and I'll probably upload a video later where I talk about my process for designing my new island using the Island Planner software, so definitely let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in. The key reason that I encourage you to map out your island before you start designing is that it sort of streamlines the process for you. I know how daunting it can feel to run around your island with your little builder's hat on and shovel in hand and just feel frustrated about where to start or even sometimes what to build. And while for some, not knowing what to do and feeling nearly limitless with possibilities can be very freeing and exciting, for me, it's just not a comfortable place to be. I like structure, I like clarity, I like knowing what I want to do so that I can be intentional with my time and my designs. So I'll definitely be planning out my next island in a lot more detail than I did with Serenume, because I think that adding that little bit of extra structure really helps in so many ways. Now, this next lesson actually stems from something that I'm really embarrassed about. I did not optimize my custom design codes, and a lot of them I've come to realize I just don't really enjoy all that much. This is embarrassing because I've put together 2 separate videos where I list a bunch of really awesome designs that would have worked perfectly on my island. I actually even used a few of them, but not all of the ones that I loved, which is kind of weird now that I think about it. In the end, I ended up with far too many paths and not enough smaller designs like flowers, weeds, blankets, things like those. And because of this, my island, it feels a little bare in some places and a little repetitively overgrown in others because I've really been struggling to find a good balance between my design codes and my use of nature. So my takeaway lesson here is to be picky about your custom designs. Try a few different ones out, place them together to see if they complement each other in the way that you want, and plan as much as you can. The clearer you can envision your completed island, the easier it will be to pick out the codes that will work best to bring that image in your mind to life. Next up, let's have a little chat about a lesson that I learned that has to do with island cohesiveness. There is one half of my island which sparks joy. There's one half of my island which does not spark joy. The difference is not in the clutter, it's in the cohesiveness. The bright pink and white side of my island shares a lot of common items and flowers, and these areas, for the most part, are pretty well defined. Everything just fits right. On the other side of my island, my intention was for there to be a lot more clutter and chaos, and once I had decided on that, I threw all sense of planning to the wind and said to myself, let chaos breed chaos. So I set out to decorate that part of my island completely haphazardly. The end result? I think it looks okay. Every time I walk through this section of my island, I think, good idea. And that's it. I don't really like anything that I did over here because even on the most cluttered of cluttercore islands, there's still a sense of cohesiveness. Here on Serenume, each of these areas just feels chaotic in the sense that I didn't think about which items would go well together, because I didn't. And I caught myself designing these areas in ways that I didn't like, and I tried to backpedal a little bit to add that little extra layer of cohesiveness to things, but it's just never really worked out. So my biggest takeaway from this experience is to design your island cohesively. This goes beyond just sketching the layout of the land and is more about being thoughtful with how you use and place items to fit together. A lot of my favorite islands tend to have a few similar or even the exact same items or types of items like wooden, iron, or stone that are integrated throughout the entire island. This adds a sense of familiarity and helps to make the island feel more connected as you move around and explore. But also keep in mind the importance of sprinkling in a little bit of diversity across your island as well. Just use diversity that fits cohesively. And now we move on to lesson number 4, which I learned because my terraforming, it's trash. Not really, but it sure does feel like it sometimes. The biggest struggle I have is that I know I can do better than what I did, and it gets me every time, because it's like this never-ending cycle where I create something, I criticize it to pieces, and then I end up just wanting to chuck my Switch out the window and start all over again. This is a feeling that I've been struggling with since I first started playing the game back in March, and I've learned a lot about myself from recognizing that this is how I feel. Mostly that I'm impatient and overly self-critical, so this is a lesson for all of us perfectionists out there. It will never be perfect. There will always be something that you can criticize, and no matter what you blame it on, be it yourself or the limitations within the game, it's only going to be as good as it's going to be. So, with that being said, what do? I think what I'll do, more often at least, is focus on the smaller day-to-day tasks. I rarely ever go fishing, and never chop wood, and I hardly ever talk to my villagers anymore unless they chase me down to chastise me for not talking to them more. And the other thing that I've started doing is diversifying the Animal Crossing related content that I consume. I think that when I was only following content creators who were creating content that I felt was beyond my capabilities to design, it led me to believe less in myself, because I didn't believe that I could design my island as well as I perceived others were able to. Since I've started following new accounts run by creators that I feel better match my skill level and intentions with playing the game, I've started to accept that really anything that any of us create is unique and special because it's our own. It's like that Man in the Arena quote by Theodore Roosevelt. It's not about the critics, even if the critic is our own internal voiced ego. It's about the doer of deeds. On your island, you built something. You put hours and laughter and hard work into fostering the community of your island. And that's something worthy of being proud of. You are someone worthy of being proud of. Whatever you create, it's yours. You did it. This actually ties in perfectly with my last lesson. Remember to play the game. Animal Crossing New Horizons is so incredible because it's vast in what it offers to us players. I think that some of us, we tend to get sucked into just a few aspects of the game, and we forget to partake in or really enjoy the other aspects of the game that don't necessarily draw us in as easily. And of course, it's important that we prioritize what we enjoy the most about the games that we play. Though, I do think it's also important to engage with the other aspects of the game because they can act as a way to break up some of the pressure and the stress that we may feel when a terraforming project we're working on doesn't quite work out according to plan. Or they can help us move past some of our annoyance when we feel we can't find the specific breed or species of fish or bug that we need to complete our encyclopedia. Animal Crossing New Horizons, it's still a game. If you don't feel like you're playing when you turn it on and run around your island, I encourage you to remember what it is about the game that makes you feel joy and like you're playing something fun. We've all already got so much stress in our lives, so let's remember to play to have fun because it's fun. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed hearing about the lessons I've learned during my experience with my last island, Serenume. Again, thank you so much for liking the video and for subscribing to the channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, bye.